The nation was already buzzing with tension. The 2024 presidential election was looming, and political battles raged both in the Capitol and in the shadows of Washington's most secretive corridors. Amid this tempest, a quiet storm was brewing inside the Federal Bureau of Investigation, one that could shake the very foundations of the government. Kash Patel, the newly appointed director of the FBI and a trusted confidant of President Donald Trump, had just arrived at the FBI headquarters in Washington, D.C. The atmosphere inside the building was unlike anything Patel had experienced before. Whispers floated in the air, rumors of leaked memos, secret investigations, and classified documents that threatened to topple powerful figures. Patel was no stranger to controversy. As a former aide to the Department of Defense and a key player in exposing government corruption, he had been handpicked by Trump for his unwavering loyalty and inside knowledge. But nothing had prepared him for the explosive revelation that was about to unfold. Across town at the Supreme Court, Judge Coney Barrett was going over the docket for the day when she received an unusual message from the White House. It wasn't a case file or a brief legal opinion, it was a direct request from President Trump himself. The message was simple but shocking. Judge Barrett, demand Kash Patel to reveal his sources regarding the recent investigation into classified leaks. It's time the truth comes out. Trust no one. Barrett had always been a staunch supporter of law and order, fiercely loyal to the Constitution and unafraid to take on powerful adversaries. But this was different. This was personal. In the weeks prior, Barrett had heard whispers about a classified memo, a document so explosive that it bore her name and could change everything. She knew Patel had the memo. Now she had to confront him. The morning sun poured through the Supreme Court's grand windows as Barrett made her way to the FBI building. The tension in her chest was palpable. This wasn't just about uncovering a leak, it was about protecting the integrity of the judicial system and, more importantly, safeguarding the presidency of Donald Trump. Inside the FBI, Patel was waiting. Surrounded by stacks of classified files and a few trusted aides, he glanced at his watch. The judge's arrival was imminent. When Barrett entered the room, the air crackled with electricity. "Director Patel," she began, her voice calm but firm. "I've come to request access to your sources on the recent leaks. This isn't a matter to take lightly. The memo you hold bears my name, and it's imperative I understand its origin." Patel looked up slowly, a knowing smile flickering across his face. "Judge Barrett," he said, "you already know this memo exists. But what you don't know is who's behind the leaks and why." He reached into a secure folder and carefully pulled out a document, the very memo that had ignited this firestorm. The header was unmistakable. Confidential, Judge Coney Barrett. Barrett's eyes widened ever so slightly. This was the proof she had been waiting for. But the memo wasn't just a list of classified information. It was a roadmap, one that detailed a conspiracy against the president involving high-ranking officials within the FBI and beyond. "Who gave you this?" Barrett demanded, her voice lowering. Patel hesitated just a moment before replying. "That's what you need to find out. But it won't be easy. These are dangerous times. And the people involved will stop at nothing to silence us." As the two powerful figures locked eyes, the fate of the nation hung in the balance. Would Barrett uncover the truth behind the memo? Would Patel's sources be revealed? And more importantly, how far were the conspirators willing to go to protect their secrets? Outside, the media frenzy was already building. Rumors of an internal FBI scandal tied to the Supreme Court justice and the president were spreading like wildfire. The country was watching, waiting for the next move in this high-stakes game of power, loyalty, and betrayal. Barrett and Patel knew one thing for sure: the coming days would change America forever. Judge Coney Barrett sat back in the high-backed chair in the FBI's secure briefing room, the declassified memo clutched firmly in her hands. The stark fluorescent lights above flickered faintly, casting a clinical glow over the gathered team of investigators and aides. Kash Patel stood beside a digital screen, his expression unreadable but his eyes sharp and calculating. "Let me be clear," Barrett began, her voice cutting through the tense silence. "This memo implicates some of the highest-ranking officials in the FBI, suggesting a conspiracy aimed at undermining the presidency of Donald Trump. We are not just talking about leaks, we are talking about sabotage." Patel nodded gravely. "Exactly, Your Honor. And what's worse, the sources feeding this information are hidden within the FBI itself. It's a web of deceit stretching from the top echelons down to field agents." Barrett leaned forward. "Then we need names. I need to know who these moles are." This institution cannot be allowed to fracture from within. Patel's gaze flickered to the secure folder on the table, the weight of its contents almost palpable. The problem is, these sources have covered their tracks expertly. But the memo contains clues, cryptic annotations, and references that point toward specific individuals. Barrett's eyes narrowed. Then why are you hesitating? You have the power to root them out. Patel exhaled slowly. Because if I reveal my sources, I risk everything, my career, my safety, even my life. The people behind this will go to any lengths to silence us. They've already tried to discredit me publicly, claiming I'm fabricating evidence. Barrett's mind raced. She understood the stakes. This wasn't a mere legal inquiry, it was a battle for the soul of the nation. Then we proceed cautiously. But I want full access to that memo and all accompanying files. We'll launch an internal investigation. As Patel uploaded the memo onto a secure government network, the screen filled with pages of cryptic intelligence reports, emails, and coded messages. Barrett scanned the documents, her pulse quickening as pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. One particular name stood out, a senior FBI official known only by the codename Phoenix. The annotations suggested Phoenix had orchestrated a covert operation to leak damaging information to select media outlets aiming to destabilize Trump's administration. Barrett frowned. Phoenix? If this individual is as powerful as this suggests, then the leaks we've seen recently are just the tip of the iceberg. Patel nodded. We believe Phoenix has a network of informants embedded in multiple agencies, including the CIA and the Department of Justice. This goes beyond the FBI. The two exchanged a grim look. This was a conspiracy of unprecedented scale, and the stakes were no longer political, they were personal. Suddenly Barrett's phone buzzed. It was a message from the White House, handle with extreme discretion. The president demands results. Trust no one. Her jaw tightened. Trump's warning was clear, this investigation had to be airtight. There could be no leaks, no missteps. Later that evening, Barrett met with Patel privately in a secure vault deep beneath the FBI headquarters. The hum of servers filled the room as they reviewed encrypted communications and cross-referenced classified data. Look here, Patel pointed to a series of intercepted emails. Phoenix appears to be coordinating with a journalist at a major news outlet, someone known for breaking stories damaging to conservative figures. Barrett raised an eyebrow. You think the press is complicit? Not just complicit, manipulated. These leaks are timed perfectly to shape public opinion, to weaken Trump's base ahead of the election. Barrett's mind flashed back to the days when she was a law professor teaching constitutional law. The idea that the very fabric of democracy could be torn apart by a secret cabal inside the government was terrifying. We have to expose Phoenix, she said firmly. And protect the president. Patel hesitated. There's one more thing. The memo contains a strange reference, a cipher that only someone with Supreme Court clearance would recognize. It's connected directly to you. Barrett's heart skipped a beat. Me? Why? Patel shrugged. That's what we're here to find out. As the night deepened, the two began to unravel the enigma. Somewhere in the shadows of power, the true mastermind waited, watching, planning, and ready to strike. The battle lines were drawn, and Judge Amy Coney Barrett was ready to face the storm. The early morning light crept through the narrow windows of the secure room deep within the FBI headquarters. Judge Amy Coney Barrett and Kash Patel had been poring over the documents and encrypted files for hours, their eyes tired but sharp, minds racing to connect the dots that would reveal the true scope of the conspiracy. The mysterious cipher referenced in the memo was unlike anything Barrett had encountered before. It wasn't just a coded message, it was a hidden signature, a puzzle embedded in legal text only accessible to those who had Supreme Court clearance. And remarkably, it bore her name. Barrett glanced at Patel, her voice low and steady. The cipher, it implies that someone within the judiciary, someone with access to my opinions and writings, has manipulated legal rulings to justify surveillance and interference with the Trump administration. Patel nodded grimly. Exactly. It's a weaponized interpretation of the law designed to legitimize illegal leaks and false investigations. Barrett felt a chill run down her spine. If this was true, it meant the sabotage wasn't limited to the FBI or intelligence agencies, it had infiltrated the very courts that were supposed to uphold justice. Suddenly, Patel tapped on a keyboard and a new document appeared on the screen, a transcript of a private conversation intercepted by the FBI between two senior officials. The conversation hinted at a secret meeting scheduled for the next day at an undisclosed location in downtown Washington. This could be our chance to catch them in the act, Patel said. We need to move fast. Barrett agreed. Let's get approval from the president. He needs to know what's happening. Patel picked up his secure phone and dialed the White House command center. Within minutes, they were connected to the Oval Office. Mr. President, Patel said, Judge Barrett and I have uncovered evidence of a conspiracy within the FBI and the judiciary aimed at destabilizing your administration. We have intel on a secret meeting tomorrow that could reveal the masterminds behind these leaks. Trump's voice crackled through the line, determined and commanding. Good work, Kash. Amy, I trust your judgment. Make sure you get to the bottom of this. No one is above the law, not even those who think they are. The president's endorsement galvanized the team. Barrett and Patel spent the rest of the day planning their operation meticulously. They coordinated with trusted agents to surveil the location of the secret meeting and prepared to intercept any illicit exchanges. The following evening, as dusk fell over Washington, Barrett and Patel, accompanied by a small tactical team, arrived near an unassuming office building. Hidden behind the facade of a legal consultancy, the meeting was set to take place on the top floor. Inside, powerful figures from multiple agencies gathered. Senior FBI officials, DOJ lawyers, and even a shadowy media liaison known only as the architect. The room buzzed with hushed voices discussing how to manipulate public opinion and leverage classified information to derail Trump's presidency. Barrett's heart pounded as she and Patel listened through concealed earpieces. Names were dropped. Names of high-profile targets, strategies to leak false narratives, and plans to use Barrett's own judicial opinions as cover for illegal surveillance. This is worse than we thought, Barrett whispered into her microphone. They've weaponized the entire system against the president. Suddenly, the room's main speaker, a man identified by Patel as the enigmatic Phoenix, began outlining the next phase. A coordinated release of documents and media leaks timed to coincide with a major judicial ruling expected from Barrett's court. Patel's jaw clenched. They're planning to use your decisions to justify their actions and sway public opinion. Barrett's eyes blazed. We have to stop them before it's too late. As the meeting progressed, one of the conspirators noticed an unfamiliar face on a security monitor, a potential breach. The room instantly went into lockdown mode. Barrett and Patel's team had been discovered. Chaos erupted. The tactical team moved swiftly, breaching the conference room's doors, catching some conspirators off guard. Others tried to escape through back corridors, but agents were ready. In the chaos, Patel held up the original memo, the key piece of evidence that could expose the entire conspiracy. Barrett's phone buzzed with a message from the White House: stand firm. The country is watching. The confrontation was just beginning. The real battle to save the presidency and the integrity of the justice system was about to unfold in the public eye. The news broke out like a wildfire across every major network and social media platform. Headlines screamed about the FBI raid on a secret conspiracy meeting targeting the president, implicating high-ranking officials, and even suggesting a judicial cover-up linked to Judge Amy Coney Barrett herself. At first, many Americans were skeptical. The story sounded like a political thriller, a drama too intense to be real. But the evidence was undeniable. The declassified memo with Barrett's name, the intercepted communications, and now the arrests of several FBI and DOJ officials confirmed the depth of the treachery. In the White House Situation Room, President Donald Trump watched the reports with a mixture of vindication and resolve. He turned to his chief of staff. They tried to take me down with lies and leaks, Trump said, but now the truth is out. This isn't just about me, it's about the very survival of our republic. Meanwhile, Judge Barrett faced an unprecedented moment in her career. As the story unfolded, she was thrust into the media spotlight not just as a jurist but as a key figure in a national scandal. Her courtroom was inundated with motions, subpoenas, and political pressure from all sides. But Barrett remained unflinching. In a nationally televised press conference, she spoke with clarity and conviction. The rule of law must prevail, she declared. No individual, regardless of position, is above accountability. These leaks and conspiracies threaten the very foundations of our democracy, and I stand committed to uncovering the truth wherever it leads. Across the country, public opinion was divided. Supporters of the president hailed Barrett and Patel as heroes exposing a deep state conspiracy. Critics accused them of politicizing the judiciary and the FBI. But as more classified documents were declassified and released under court orders, the evidence mounted. Patel, meanwhile, became a household name. His bravery in standing up to entrenched powers inspired many, but also made him a target. Threats poured in, and his every move was scrutinized by both allies and adversaries. Behind closed doors, Barrett and Patel coordinated with special prosecutors to build airtight cases against those involved. They knew the battle was far from over. Powerful interests were mobilizing to fight back, using legal maneuvers, media campaigns, and even attempts to discredit the investigators. In the Senate, hearings were convened. Senators grilled witnesses, including Patel and Barrett, who testified with unwavering resolve. Barrett's detailed explanation of the cipher and how her judicial opinions had been twisted sent shockwaves through the political establishment. "We must restore faith in our institutions," she told the Senate Judiciary Committee. "The law is not a weapon to be wielded for political gain." In the midst of the chaos, Barrett found an unlikely ally in Senator Lindsey Graham, who publicly praised her courage and called for a full investigation. But the conspirators were not finished. Leaks surfaced attempting to smear Barrett's reputation, alleging conflicts of interest and bias. The media frenzy threatened to derail the investigation and divide public trust. Yet Barrett and Patel pressed on. With the president's full backing, they launched a national campaign to educate the public about the dangers of corruption and the importance of judicial independence. At a rally in Washington, Trump addressed a massive crowd. "We're cleaning house," he said. "No more secrets. No more lies. This is America, and the truth will always win." The moment was historic. The country was at a crossroads, forced to confront the realities of corruption within its most sacred institutions. Barrett's resolve and Patel's courage became symbols of a new era of accountability and justice. An era where no one could hide behind secrecy and deceit. The weeks that followed the Senate hearings were among the most turbulent in recent American history. With the full weight of the investigation bearing down, the deep-rooted conspiracy began to unravel piece by piece. High-profile resignations rocked the FBI and Department of Justice, while indictments were handed down to those implicated in the plot against President Trump and Judge Amy Coney Barrett. Judge Barrett herself presided over a landmark hearing where evidence uncovered by Kash Patel's team was presented in court. It was the first time many Americans saw the raw, unfiltered proof of the sabotage, the forged documents, the illegal surveillance orders, the communications between conspirators plotting to weaponize the judicial system against the president. The courtroom was packed with national media and political figures, all watching intently as Barrett, composed and resolute, oversaw the proceedings. Her voice was firm as she addressed the defendants. "This court will not tolerate the abuse of power," she declared. "Our Constitution demands transparency, fairness, and above all, justice. Those who betrayed their oath will answer for their actions." Outside the courthouse, supporters gathered in large numbers, chanting for justice and celebrating the unwavering commitment of Barrett and Patel. Social media buzzed with hashtags like #JusticeForAmerica and #TruthWins trending across the nation. Meanwhile, President Trump took to the White House press podium, his tone both triumphant and solemn. "This has been a dark chapter, but we've turned the page. Our nation's institutions have been tested, and thanks to brave patriots like Judge Barrett and Director Patel, the truth has prevailed. We will continue to rebuild our government with integrity and honor." The president then announced new reforms to safeguard against future abuses. Increased oversight of intelligence agencies, stronger whistleblower protections, and tighter rules to preserve judicial independence. Kash Patel, though still under scrutiny, was hailed as a hero. He declined media interviews, choosing instead to focus on advising the administration on reforms and continuing the work of cleaning house in federal agencies. For Barrett, the ordeal had transformed her public image from a quiet jurist to a national figure of resilience and justice. She resumed her duties on the Supreme Court with renewed vigor, carrying the weight of the investigation but also the gratitude of a nation inspired by her courage. Yet, the story did not end with prosecutions and reforms. A new era had dawned, one where Americans were more vigilant, where institutions were held accountable, and where the rule of law was fiercely protected. In a private moment, Barrett and Patel met at the Supreme Court chambers. "You did it, Kash," Barrett said quietly. "You helped save the country." Patel smiled, exhaustion clear in his eyes. "We all did, but the fight never really ends." Barrett nodded, looking out at the marble pillars that symbolized justice. "No, it doesn't. But as long as there are people willing to stand for truth, there's hope." The two shared a silent understanding. The battle against corruption and secrecy would continue, but America had taken a decisive step toward reclaiming its democracy. And at the heart of it all, a judge and an FBI director had stood their ground, demanding accountability, exposing the darkness, and securing a future where justice truly prevails.